Hi, everybody. I am trying this online PowerPoint thing for the first time ever. So we're going to try to see how this goes. Just bear with me. All right. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things in the world, which is Shakespearean text analysis. I know it sounds really boring, but hopefully um, you'll find it kind of fun like I do. All right. So to begin, first what we need to do is talk about the difference between verse and prose. We started talking about this a little bit before the break when we were talking about your monologue selections and which what would be a good choice and what would not be so great. So that's where we're going to start. So good, you can see my mouse, I hope. So first on the left-hand side, we have verse. Now this is verse according to English Renaissance, Shakespeare, Elizabethan um, writing. It does change throughout history, so don't just take this as a blanket statement about poetry. So first of all, this is what we would look at as something that's poetic, whatever that means to you. Prose, on the other hand, is non-poetic. Again, that's kind of an abstract term, so we'll get there. Verse is written according to a particular rhythm. It can deviate from that rhythm, but it is set up to abide by that rhythm. We're going to go into more detail about that in this PowerPoint, so don't get too ahead of yourself. Prose, on the other hand, just looks like a paragraph. It looks like if you opened up a novel and started reading. Um, Specifically in verse, that means all the letters of every line are capital, the starting letters. So it looks like a poem traditionally in that form. Whereas prose, it's just like a paragraph. Sometimes it'll be a capital letter if it's the beginning of a sentence, and sometimes it won't be. Um, Verse does not need to rhyme. It's optional. Sometimes it does. Um, but the main thing is that we're looking at rhythm. Prose, obviously, no rhyme. It's a paragraph. So here is an example. I hope you can see the mouse pointer. We'll find out. So here's a line of Romeo's, and we're going to be working with this piece quite a bit here today. So you have each line starting with a capital letter. As we go through this, we'll find that there is a common rhythm for each line. We won't get into that just yet, but it is regular. On the other hand, over here we have a line of Mercutio's. Each line starts with a lowercase letter because it's continuing the sentence beforehand. There's no rhythm here. There's no marking that needs to be done. It is simply like reading a book. Good. That's it. So let me lay down some basics for you as we look at the um, look at scansion. So scansion, the term scansion means the process of analyzing poetic verse. This is what actors do when they're approaching Shakespeare so that they know they have the rhythm right. There's a lot of debate about, well, why is this important? Why do I have to care? It's important to understand that Shakespeare wrote with these um, he wrote his work with these rhythms in mind. So it's important that you're speaking them with the rhythm, but also, and we'll get to this a little later, some examples. It's interesting to see that there are little hints laid in for you from Shakespeare um, if you are obeying and analyzing the verse. So we'll get to that, but let's first lay down a few rules. So progress. All right. The first thing that's important is that you are tuned into the syllables, not the number of words. Syllables are what's key here. So I have a line for you. We have but soft what light through yonder window breaks. So we have two multisyllabic words, meaning it has more than one syllable, um, right here. So this is what's important. It doesn't really matter how many words are in the line, but it matters how many syllables are in the line. Progressing onward. Now, a foot in poetry is the smallest unit of a pattern. This one, just go with me here, we'll explain why in a bit, is going to have a two-syllable foot. So, but soft, what light, through yon, yes, and we are splitting the word up, der, win, do, break. So we have 3 feet, sorry, 5 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet. Okay. Now, what we do with those feet is the next issue. All right, here we have just a single word. Now, this word is a two-syllable foot, based on what we just talked about. And each syllable we have to determine is either stressed or unstressed. Now, if we have the word apple, for instance, and I just put the hyphen here to show you the two separate syllables. So if we have the word apple, we have a choice. We can either say pull, which is unstressed. I'm marking the unstressed with a little U-shaped thing. Or we have a stressed, which I mark with a slash. So we can either say pull, which I hope to your ear sounds awful because we don't say apple, or we can say, come on, here we go. We can say apple. I hope that sounds more reasonable to your ear. I'm going to go eat an apple, not an apple. One is the word, the other is not. So, apple. This word, or a foot, if we want to use that term, follows this rhythm of stressed, unstressed. Apple. So, what I want you to do right now is get out a little sheet of paper, just a little piece of scrap somewhere, along where you're working, something that you can handwrite on. Um, and I want you to write your name. You can write your first name and last name. You can write your first, middle, last, but just write your name so that you can try to figure out which words or which syllables get emphasized. I'm just going to piddle around here while you get that piece of paper and write your name. Okay, so hopefully you're ready. I have here my name, and again, I have pre-broken it up into the syllables. So my name is 2 syllables and 2 syllables. Sarah Henley. One thing I like to do, I mean, this is like third grade stuff, but if you forget how many syllables or how to feel the syllables, I know in school when we were little, they used to say clap the syllables if you're needing to find out where they are. I used to always go one, Sarah Henley. Every beat gets a new syllable. One other way that people teach how to hear syllables is putting your hand under your jaw. I know you're not supposed to touch your face, but here we go. Putting your hand under your jaw, and every time you drop your jaw is a new syllable. So Sarah Henley. So 4 syllables. That's another way to do it. I have found that people who have a musical background tend to be really quick to pick up on this because you feel beats and you feel rhythms. But people who don't have that musical background, sorry, we're homeschooling. My son's making faces at me. um, People who don't have that musical background sometimes have a harder time picking it up just because it doesn't come as naturally to them. So, Sarah Henley. Now, what I'm going to do, now that I have this on my screen, is I am going to determine which syllables get the emphasis. So I could say my name one of two ways. I could say Sarah or Sarah. One's my name and the other is not. I say my name Sarah. So which one gets the most emphasis? It's the first syllable. Sarah. Sarah. That's how I say my name. Stressed, unstressed. Now I do the same thing for my last name. I either say Henley or Henley. One is my name and the other is not. I say my name Henley, not Henley. So that's my name. You might have 3 syllables in your name, and that's okay. Just find which has the stressed and the unstressed, um, and which has uh, the weaker and the stronger. Don't worry too much about how many syllables there are at this point. Just figure out which ones have the stress and the unstressed. So this is something that we're going to get into. There is a name for this pattern. There is a name for this pattern. This is called a trochee. Stressed, unstressed. Stressed, unstressed. Now, here are many of the options for your rhythmic pattern. I just did a trochee. My name is Sarah. We also did apple. Stressed, unstressed. Apple. That the other one was Sarah. Sarah. Okay. So that's a trochee, that stressed, unstressed pattern. We have other options here. We have, oh, good. Yeah, thanks, autocorrect. It should be destroy, R-O-Y. And I am, which is a weak syllable first, and then a stressed syllable. So it would be destroy. You may have, your name might be weak, strong. Let me think. Uh, begin. That's another one. Begin is an I am. Now we have a spondy. A spondy is if they're both stressed. For instance, actually a lot of compound words are spondies. Bathrobe, because it is 2 single syllable words. Bathrobe. Then we get into some options that are 3 syllables. So this, and I've kind of butchered the spelling with using the hyphens, but if we are to have 3 syllables in this particular word, it would be horrible. Because again, the first syllable is getting the emphasis. Horrible. Horrible. That's called a dactyl. An anapest is the opposite, so it's weak, weak, strong. So for example, interrupt. My little picture is over this, but you can have the term in the blink of an eye. So that's just how that whole phrase would look like if we're dealing with single syllable words. In the blink of an eye. So blink and eye get the stress here. So go back to your name and try to figure out what your name is. Again, mine was trochee, stressed, unstressed. Sarah. Maybe yours isn't. I do have to say that in the English language, a lot of names tend to be, and a lot of words in general tend to be more trochaic, which is the adjective for trochee, more trochaic than anything else. Um, so take a minute to look at that. Okay, so we just talked about what rhythm you were working on, and I've already left that screen and I can't go back because apparently PowerPoint doesn't let you go back. But I just wanted to notate that out of all of those things, for now, the one that is so super important, that is really the one that we're going to focus on, is the I am. Okay, more on that in a minute, but that's the important one. That one is the unstressed, stressed. And actually, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. So if you think I am a pirate with a wooden leg, that's iambic. Okay? Anyway, more on that later. The second part that we need to understand about the poetry of the English Renaissance is how many feet, not syllables, how many feet there are in a line. So, how many sets of iams or trochees or spondees or whatever the case may be, whatever you decided, how many are there in a line? Here is a big long chart of how many of the terms that we use. So if there's only 1 foot, it's called manometer. I hardly ever see this. I don't know what that is. And of course, given you everything up into 8. The only thing that really, really matters is this one. This is what we are looking at. Pentameter. Penta means 5. Pentameter. Sometimes you'll get some tetrameter. That means 4. But this is the one that is so super important. I wish I had little star stickers I could show you. There we go. That's the one we're going to be focusing on. So, progressing onward, blank verse, which is what English Renaissance plays were written in, blank verse, is defined as iambic pentameter. So iambic means you're doing that rhythm of unstressed, stressed, and penta means 5 feet. So we have this pattern and we have 5 feet of that. So here we go. Let me change color since I'm getting a little bit mixed up here. So here we go. Here we have a line of Shakespearean text. This is Romeo. We just actually looked at it on the very first slide. But we're going to start first with writing the feet. So we have 2 syllables, but soft, foot 1. What light, foot 2. Through yon, foot 3. Der win, foot 4. Do breaks. Okay, so we have 5 feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I already did this earlier. But these are our feet. Now, let me change colors. Oh, let's do green. Now we're going to mark the unstressed and stressed. Now, this is iambic. I would not throw you with anything that would not be regular to start with. So this is all going to be 5 feet of iams. So it's going to look like this. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks. And here we actually, let me, if I change my thing, if you think about it, you get all of the important syllables on the emphasis. If you just read the highlighted words, the emphasized words, soft, light, yawn, win, breaks. It actually kind of makes sense. We can kind of get the sense of what the line is. If you just look at the unstressed syllables, you get but, what, through, der, do. That makes no sense. We can't even try to extrapolate anything from it. So our important words get the stress. Our here, let me get my pen back. Pen, come back. Here we go. So the things that get the stress are frequently verbs, action. Action gets stress because it's important. It's important to the meaning of the sentence. You're also going to look for those multi-syllabic words. Because when you have a syllable, a word with more than 1 syllable, one of them most likely is going to be stressed and the other is going to be weaker. So yonder, we say yonder, yonder. It would sound strange for us to say yonder. Doesn't sound like the same word. It sounds like something else. Same thing with window. We say window, look out the window. We don't say look out the window. No, that's it just doesn't sound right. So when you're looking for these stronger words, you want to look for verbs, you want to look for some nouns, you want to look for I'll even throw that there. And you especially want to look for these multisyllabic words like yonder and window. Okay, so that's going to help you find the full line of text. Um, so congratulations, you've just done your first line of scansion. We're going to go a little bit further. So here I have another very famous monologue, and I want to show you something interesting that happens with it. Now, I had mentioned that not only is it important for actors to um, do the text analysis because that's the way it's written and that's the way it should be spoken, but also there are interesting things to be found. So, very famous monologue here. Let's do some scansion. So, it would look like this. Oops. Here we go. To be or not to be, that is the question. Now, if you're keeping track, that means we have an extra syllable. There's 11 syllables in these lines. So let me mark our feet. Here's foot 1, foot 2, foot 3, foot 4, and foot 5 is a little extra. This right here is nothing to panic over. Like I said, not everything is regular, so it's not uncommon to find irregularities. So this is what we will call a feminine, is that right? It looks weird. Ending. I have a page with this all more carefully laid out, but you'll see what we're talking about. So this extra syllable is what we call a feminine ending. But if I am to go there and I pull out all of the um, stressed syllables, oops, let's get that. That's better. And I'm going to highlight all the stressed syllables. Here is what I have. Be, not be is quest. So that actually gets us pretty close to the meaning of the sentence or the meaning of the line. Really the meaning of the whole plot of Hamlet. If you look at just the unstressed, you have to or to that the. Oh, and chun. That means nothing, but those stressed syllables get us to the point. We've got another one. I mean, we could go ahead and do this for more of that monologue, but I want to move on. Here's Macbeth. So again, we're going to have a feminine ending here, but let's go tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. So there's that feminine ending again. I'm going to do the feet. Eventually, you probably find you don't need to do the feet anymore, but marking the feet can sometimes help get you more comfortable with this iambic pentameter. So we have this line of text that is regular with an extra feminine ending. But again, I am going to highlight the stressed syllables. And this is where I say that there are some nice little psychological hints about the characters that are embedded in the way it's written. So you have this line, and I know it looks like saying mar and mar and mar. Now, if you were to pronounce this the way Shakespeare was pronounced his in the 16th century, this would have the mar in tomorrow would have been pronounced more like more. So while that would sound like tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, if you just look at those emphasized words, you have more and more and more. This is really important if you understand where this is happening um, in the timeline of Shakespeare's play, Macbeth, that Macbeth he's losing the war. He just found out his wife is dead, and this is his response, more and more and more. It's really kind of exciting to see these little extra hints thrown along the way. So if you haven't already been following along and using the Shakespeare analysis file I posted for you in the Blackboard um, lesson plan, make sure you do that now. Print it out now, because I'm going to have you do this. And it's important that you have some sort of hard copy now. If you've got, like I do, a fancy little pen and can, mark on your screen, that's fine. But it's really important for you to do this manually in some way. So print it out, mark it up, something like that, so that you can participate in this. So it's called Shakespeare Analysis. It's in Blackboard. And just go ahead and print that out now. Pause this until you have that done.